Hi, I'm Kira Island Socialist on Instagram and my blog is islandsocialist.com. Today I am transforming the Rhapsody blouse by Love Notions into a ruffly boho beauty. Stay tuned. I can't believe this is only my second Rhapsody blouse. This is one of Love Notion's top sellers. The first time I made it, I added some gorgeous tassels and I do have a tutorial for that. I will link it in the iCard above. This time I've put a Kira spin on it again. I have added ruffles to the pattern. Now, obviously I live on an island, so boho style is all around me. It is normal for me. But I have noticed that it is actually trending. Lately, I've been seeing blouses very similar to the Rhapsody over on Pinterest, on Instagram, and a lot of them feature some sort of ruffle action because ruffles are trending as well. So I wanted to put some ruffles on the Rhapsody. Here is what mine looks like. I'm not wearing it today because I am actually getting ready to go and shoot this top right now, which is why my head is looking so crazy. So I have added ruffles to the bishop sleeve. I've also added ruffles to the shoulder gathers, and I've added ruffles to the back yoke. Now this is a very easy alteration to make. Essentially, I just cut strips of fabric and I did a roll hem on my serger and I added them into the seams where I wanted them to be. I measured the length and multiplied so that it could be longer together. For the sleeve, I basically chopped the sleeve into 3 so that I can add in my 2 layers of ruffles. Have no fear, I do have videos of the process to share with you so that you can see exactly what I did to achieve this look. If you can't tell by now, or if you're new to my channel, my name is Kira and I love ruffles. I love anything ruffly and anything flouncy, so I'm constantly adding ruffles and flounces to my wardrobe. The last time I added flounces to the willow wrap dress, and I just realized that that was in a similar color blue, and this is not usually a blue I go for, but apparently I'm gravitating to this blue now. I just realized. I also know my lighting is looking a little bit different today, and that is because it is so gloomy outside. I'm hoping, praying and hoping it does not rain for my shoot today. Anyway, so before I go into the nitty-gritty of applying these ruffles, let us talk about the Rhapsody pattern. So like I said, it is one of Love Notion's best sellers. It is a kind of like a peasant style blouse, I would say. So there's also a dress option with elastic in the waist, and the top is like a kind of blouson effect. I hope I'm saying that right, but the top is kind of blousey, and then you have the skirt. I'm still yet to try the dress option, and now I'm thinking that this boho style with the ruffles could look really cute as a dress as well. So maybe I need to try that next. Goes from extra small to 5X. I made my usual large. I shortened it 1 inch. The last time I shortened it 3 inches and it was just a little bit too short. This time I only shortened it 1 inch, but this fabric is the absolute devil. This is my second time working with this fabric in a short space of time, and I can safely say, like with 100% accuracy, I am never buying this fabric again. This is crinkle rayon, and I've learned how to sew crinkle rayon. How to sew crinkle rayon is to not sew crinkle rayon. This fabric would not stop growing vertically, and I made sure to press the fabric and everything before cutting. I had to hack off another 1.5 inches to get it to be the perfect length, because as I was sewing, it was just growing and growing and growing and growing vertically. I mean, I do prefer it to grow vertically than horizontally, but good gosh. And the only other change I made was to shorten the sleeves by 3/4 of an inch. So it does have a back yoke that is put together using the burrito method. So there are actually 2 layers here, and then it comes around to the front, so it kind of has like a forward shoulder with some gathers, and that is what provides basically the room for the bust. And this pattern does have standard bust as well as the full bust option. I just made the standard bust. If I remember correctly, there are 9 sleeve options in this pattern. Well, and the girl just added 1. But yeah, 9 sleeve options in this pattern. The last time I made the 3/4 bishop, this time I made the full length bishop. I know I'm not going to remember them off the top of my head, so as usual I will have the pattern on the screen so that you can see the gazillion sleeve options. There is a style there for everyone. And the next feature that I want to point out is the bias binding. Now y'all, don't judge my bias binding. Like I said, this fabric was absolute hell to work with. I think I did a pretty good job considering. Like, my V isn't even too bad. So it isn't perfect, but it is the best I could do given the circumstances. This fabric slips and slides and grows and just does its own thing. Highly recommend starching your lightweight fabrics, especially for the bias binding part. I did not use starch. Massive regret. But I mean, apart from the tricky fabric, I think this turned out beautifully, right? At the back yoke area, it does have this inverted box pleat. I mean, of course, if you want, you could flip it the other way so that there's a box pleat on the outside, but I like how it looks with the inverted box pleat, and that just provides some room for the hip area. And then it is just finished with a narrow hem, which again, very painful on this fabric, but I got through it eventually. That being said, this top is super comfortable and super pretty, and I do like it in this fabric. The process just wasn't great, but it really is the perfect fabric for this project. I feel like if the crinkly nature adds to the boho vibe. I am gonna put up 1 or 2 of the inspiration photos that I saw on Pinterest that really made me go for it, and you can let me know in the comments below if I nailed it or not. So now, before I jump into the process so you guys can see how to attach these gathers, if this is something you'd like to try, I just wanted to let you know that this pattern is on sale today, $5 today only for Feature Friday. So I will have my affiliate link in the description box. If you feel inspired and want to go ahead and purchase this pattern, I would love for you to use my link, but you are not obligated to. So now let's have a look at the construction process. So I'm using the long bishop sleeve pattern piece, and I'm just placing it at my shoulder to get an idea of the length, and I can already tell it's just a little bit too long for me. With a bishop sleeve, we do want to leave a bit extra. We want it to be a bit longer than our wrist so that it has that poofy billowy effect at the bottom, but it is still just a smidgen too long for me, maybe about 3/4 to an inch. So I need to keep that in mind when I am adjusting my sleeve piece. The other thing I want to pay attention to is where I want my ruffles to sit. So I am just guesstimating based on the inspiration photo. Just looking down here, I think I'm gonna have my first ruffle right about where the G is, and then I'll just come down a few inches for the next ruffle. So consensus, I need to shorten 3/4 inch or so. And also my first ruffle will start around the G for the grain line, and then I'll just come down maybe 5 inches or so to start my second ruffle. Now, because this is a pretty straight pattern piece, this sleeve, this is going to make it really easy to adjust and also really easy to add in our ruffles. So let us take this to the cutting table now. Okay, so let me show you what I have so far. So I have my line drawn right around the G, of course, making sure it is straight. I'm using the grain line as a guide, and then I went ahead and drew another line parallel to that one. This one is 5 inches low, but then when I held it up against me, I decided I wanted to go for 6 instead. So I'm using the line that's close to the G, and I'm also using the 6-inch line. So now I am going to go ahead and slice through those lines. First, I'm going to make sure all of these pieces have tape so that everything doesn't fall apart. Now I have my sleeve segmented into 3 parts. We have the upper sleeve now, we have a middle piece, and then we have a bottom piece. Now, if you don't need to shorten your sleeve, you can go right ahead and add seam allowances to both pieces here and also both pieces here. We're gonna add 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and when we create our ruffle pieces, we're going to make sure to include that 3/8 of an inch seam allowance as well. I want my ruffles to be about 1 inch, so I'll be cutting my strips 1 3/8 inches wide. However, remember I said I need to shorten my sleeve about 3/4 inch. So this is the point at which I'm going to be a little bit smarter and combine these 2 steps that I'm shortening my sleeve as well while I add in my seam allowances. So like I said, because this is a pretty straight sleeve, this is going to make it so much easier. What I am going to do is I'm only going to add my 3/8 to this top one, and when this attaches to this one, it's going to take 3/8 from this one, because I'm not going to add 3/8 inch here. I'm going to leave this one as is, so that the 3/8 is going to take away some from here. And the same for this section. I'm going to add my 3/8 to this one, but not to this one, and that is going to take away 3/8 from here as well. So I'm going to be losing 3/8 of an inch twice, which will give me 3/4 inch, which is exactly what I wanted to drop in the beginning. Work smarter, not harder. So I'm going to go ahead and add my seam allowances now. So as you can see, I've added a seam allowance to the bottom of this one, not to the top of this one, to the bottom of this one, and not to the top of this one. The next thing I'm going to do is measure from one end all the way over to the other end, because I need to know how long my ruffle needs to be. The general rule for gathers is 1.5 to 2 times the length. So when I measure across here, I'm going to multiply that by 1.5, and that will tell me how long my ruffle needs to be to gather and look nice and fluffy. So when I measured this length, this one is just a smidgen over 19 inches, and when I measured this length, this is just a smidgen less than 19 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and work with 19 inches. So 19 multiplied by 1.5 is 28.5. So I'm going to make long strips 28.5 inches long by 1 3/8 of an inch wide. I'm going to be doing a narrow rolled hem on the serger, so I don't need to account for too much loss for hem allowance. It's only going to take off about 1/8 of an inch, so I'm fine with that. That means that the final ruffle will be about 7/8 of an inch, and that's perfectly fine for me. So I also need to calculate my ruffle length for the back portion of the top, but I need to keep in mind that this has a center back pleat. So I am just going to use the yoke to do my measurements instead, because the yoke is cut on the fold. So I'm just lining it up on my mat. I'm getting a rough 7.5. So I'll go ahead and calculate 7.5 multiplied by 1.5, and that is going to give me my length for the back ruffle. And the last ruffle we need to calculate is the front ruffle for the top of the shoulder. But again, this is going to be gathered into the yoke piece, so I'm going to use the yoke to measure that as well. So I will actually be measuring the shoulder of the yoke, and this is about 3 1/4. So I'm going to do 3 1/4 multiplied by 1.5. That is going to give me the shoulder ruffle. And for all of these, the yoke seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch on both ends. So that means this ruffle is going to be the exact same width as the ones for the sleeve. So for all of my ruffles, the width that is required is 1 3/8 of an inch. I've just gone ahead and scribbled so I don't lose track. So 28.5 inches long for the sleeve, 4 7/8 inches long for the shoulders, and 11 1/4 inches long for the back yoke. And all of these are by 1 3/8 of an inch. Right now I am attaching my back ruffle. This is the pleat on the back piece. Under here I have my yoke piece. I'm going to lay my other yoke piece on top of this one, and we're going to stitch all the way across with 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then our ruffle and our back piece will be sandwiched in between the 2 yoke pieces. Okay, now that you've seen those clips of me putting the top together, how about we have a look at my photos? It's really funny because as I'm editing this video, I'm going to be inserting the photos, but right now I have no idea what the photos look like. So fingers crossed you guys just saw some amazing shots. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already, and don't forget you can grab today's Feature Friday pattern, the Rhapsody blouse and dress, for $5 today only. That is it for me today, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.